Okay, great. I know this isn't perfect, but well, this will have to do. So welcome everybody to the Lunch and Learn webinar series today, where we're going to be focused on presenting the new Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnership Orientation Program, which is a great resource that's been a long time coming, and we welcome you all here today and thank you for your time. So just as a reminder about our partnership, the vision that we have collectively is that Vermont will be populated by farms that are vibrant, they're robust, and they're sustainable, and that they steward their land to improve water quality as well as wildlife habitat for the benefit of farms, connected ecosystems, the public, and the general good of Vermont. And we have an agreed upon 5-year strategic plan. And the purpose and mission outlined in our strategic plan, which you can find on our website, is that we will improve ag water quality in Vermont by coordinating all the partner efforts that are going on to provide education, technical, and financial assistance to the agricultural community. And we have 3 overarching goals in which we're trying to do that. The first is to improve water quality and wildlife habitat on all engaged farmland owners and operators' properties, those participating and engaging in our programs, to deliver technical and financial assistance in an efficient and an effective way in achieving our goals for water quality and wildlife habitat. And while doing so, to provide the best service experience possible for the landowner or the person participating in our programs. So with that, I thank you for your time today. I'm going to hand it over to Molly and Nina. They're going to share about this program, and I'll be talking to you towards the end. I'll also be monitoring the chat, so feel free to raise a hand or type anything in there.
Thanks, Allie. So I started my position at the Agency of Agriculture in March of 2017. And I primarily was doing a lot of outreach and coordination among the partnership. And I think I spent anywhere between 3 months and a year trying to understand what the other partner organizations did and how that was connected to the work that I was assigned to do. I'm going to stick a link in the chat, and I'm hoping to hear from everyone on the call by clicking on that link and sharing your experience. But one of the interesting things about the work we do is we're often required to collaborate across organizations. But in order to do that, it requires a general understanding what other organizations do, how that connects to your work. So I'm hoping to see, for the folks on the call, where they land on this spectrum.
VAWQP, the culvert.
It looks like we've got a pretty good amount of folks who are still figuring it out. And I would say that's probably the response that you might get from almost anyone that you ask in the partnership. It's nice to know no one thinks they've got it all figured out. So we sort of had a lot of assumptions that this was the case with our organizations. And we knew that part of our goals in our strategic plan were to be able to assess needs and deliver priority trainings. So last fall, in the fall of 2020, we did some survey work and we got about 70 respondents, and we wanted to know what some of the challenges were that people were experiencing and trying to coordinate across partner staff. And we got a lot of information back, but a lot of it was along the same lines. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of people. Trying to coordinate takes a lot of time. And a lot of it is just based in this, general gap in understanding of what we all do and who does what and how that plays into our work with any individual farm. We also asked people what the value was, because we know there's value in the work that we do. And we know when we see a successful on-farm project, whether it's, adopting a new practice or planning and implementing a production area improvement, there's between 3 and 5 different organizations that end up interacting with that farm, and getting them through that process successfully relies on this ability for us as staff to coordinate and make things as easy as possible between state and federal and local program rules. So we had a really good response from people about, we know there's value and we know there's challenges. We also asked the respondents to tell us how often we're required to coordinate with different staff in different organizations. And I think the most surprising thing was that a quarter of the respondents were every single day. It was part of their job to know what Luke was doing at the Agency of Agriculture or what Chris was doing at US and Fish and Wildlife, and to be able to coordinate with them on a project or to help a farm coordinate with the right person. And, more than a third are a few times a week. So we felt like it was worth our time and our capacity to build something that would help get everyone to equal and level playing field when it comes to understanding what each of the organizations do. There was a lot of discussion around how to make it realistic. Capacity is always something that we worry about. So we did design, an online program for folks to take, and it's really targeted at new staff when they come on board the partnership. The idea was to help introduce them to the ecosystem of work that we do and have sort of a general resource of, what listservs should I be signed up for and what messaging should I be expecting to receive and know about. There's a few different sort of like avenues of entry into this program. I think the one major one we're hoping folks to take on is that as you bring new staff on board, you assign this program to them within their first 6 months of employment, and that this program is a resource they can do, and as a self-guided program over the course of learning about their job, they can also learn about the people they're expected to coordinate with and the different organizations, what their mission is and what their role and how they attempt to achieve it. You can also just have new staff directly reach out to Allie. She's a great resource, can help get folks in touch with the program and some directions about how to start it. The third option, which we realize is probably where a lot of folks are at today, which is maybe you've joined or started a new position in the last year. So this wasn't formally introduced to you as part of your onboarding process, but you might feel as though it's a really important thing to spend some time understanding and accessing as a resource. In developing this program, we wanted to focus on a couple of goals, really focusing on understanding. But at the end of the day, if you ask anyone who's been around for a little bit of time, they'll tell you how important it is to create relationships. So we wanted to develop a program that was really focused on creating friendships and relationships. If any of you have been in the professional world for a long time or in other positions, hopefully you will attest to this, but it tends to be those personal relationships, that trust, collaboration with individual people, right, that helps you get your job done and helps other people get their job done. So it's having the confidence and the trust to be able to call people up on the phone or to go out in the field with them and have some confidence and trust in what they're trying to communicate to you. So we really tried to create something that was about building those relationships. And we wanted to make sure it was interactive. So it's not just about reading things, but we've got a ton of video content built into this. We've got a ton of kind of interactive activities Molly's going to touch on. And before I hand it over to her, I just wanted to give big thanks to the folks who helped contribute to this. With any collaborative project, it really takes a village. And Molly, I will hand it back to you if I can remember how to stop sharing.
Yeah. Okay, give me just a second while I share my screen. Okay, can everyone see the orientation website? Okay, great. So I'm going to kind of just quickly walk you through the different elements of this orientation website. So it's just a simple link, lives as a website would. So it's sort of meant to be more of a guided tour, but it's really easy to pop in and around the different pages. Specifically after you sort of go through the orientation, I think one of the great things about all the content that lives on here is that at least I've found it sort of handy to go back and visit, like if I need a reminder or I really like how something was worded by one of my partner organizations. It's a really great resource that I think has a life beyond just training and orientation. And I hope you'll see a little bit of that as I walk you through. So this is our beautiful homepage. Sort of when you pop on, gives you an overview of the orientation, outlines the goals of what we want you to walk away with when taking the orientation, which Nina walked you through. And we also created, and I apologize, sometimes my Zoom box gets in the way, so I have to sort of move things around, but we created an orientation worksheet. So our vision for this is that while completing this task, it's a way to sort of track your progress, track those questions that you may have that may not be able to be answered within the content that lives in this website. And ask you some sort of reflective question. So it's beyond just sort of, we hope it's beyond just sort of reading and absorbing that knowledge by asking some of these reflective questions and sort of ranking maybe your quality of learning. We really hope to you get something out of that, and then we get something out of that, and that at the end of this, you can provide really valuable feedback of what sort of your key takeaways are. So as you see, the website is now, we're, I think, more than open to making improvements to it, tweaking things here and there and updating information as necessary. And we'll really rely on all the participants in this orientation program to help guide sort of where this goes in the future, if it stays more or less the same. So there are 4 key units to the orientation. The first being just a general overview of the partnership. So you can kind of click on the links to jump around, but it goes through your vision, the mission and purpose, the goals, the history of the partnership, the strategic plan, a little bit of with what Ali went over. And like Nina said, we tried to mix with just, readable text with some videos and pictures to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. And again, that progress tracking sheet will sort of walk you through all these elements too. And you sort of check different boxes as you understand them or complete them. And I think one of the best features of the website is that you can review all the great newsletters that Ali puts out each month through the partnership. So they live on this website. And I know there's been so many times I've had to go back in my email to try to find old newsletters for content. And I'm not great at organizing my inbox, so I love that they all live here. It's a much quicker way to access them. And then all the webinars that the partnership puts on. So the monthly lunch and learns, they are all posted on here as well. And I assume this one will be added. And then there's just, yes, like I said, some great videos about a little bit about faces of Vermont agriculture. So if you're new to Vermont, like I was 2 years ago, I think these videos are really of great value, just kind of give you a crash course in why we do what we do. So as you kind of scroll through, there's different links like to go to the newsletter, go to the webinars. And I'll just kind of click here. This is where the newsletters live. All the great webinars, including kind of descriptive links. Okay, so once you're done with that unit, you'll move on to the history and context of our work, unit 2. And this kind of gives you just a really broad overview of the history of agriculture in Vermont. There's a number of different sources and articles that we pulled for this. These, I think, normally are little boxes. It may not just be loading on my browser, so I apologize. But yeah, different videos, documents that you can read, sort of a timeline of water quality and agriculture, dating all the way back to the 1970s. And a lot of these resources were pulled from partners within the partnership, like Lake Champlain Basin program. So I think separately, we all create, hopefully, what are helpful resources that kind of fit into our overarching goals, which live here. And I think you can, depending on sort of your level of knowledge, you can pick or choose what you wish to watch. I know some people have seen different videos or read different things, so we hopefully give you a good variety to look through. And then we have some great strategic resources that I think we all rely on heavily in our individual organizations and roles. The Lake Champlain Basin State of the Lake Report, Farm to Plates Vermont Food System issue brief, and the Vermont Clean Water Initiative performance report. Okay, and then moving on to Unit 3. This is where we go into a little bit more detail about all the partners of the partnership. So you can kind of jump through, you can kind of go through each one, but this little homepage, when you click on Unit 3, there's this really helpful sort of infographic that Ali and all the partners involved in this help to curate. And this is something that I sort of recommend printing out and, sticking to your bulletin board or slipping into your desk. I think some of the feedback that we received, which Nina reviewed, is it's sometimes hard to know who's doing what. And if I have a question from a farmer, who should I go to? Who would oversee this? And this sort of chart, we hope helps make that a little bit easier. So it's, lists all the organizations in Vermont that sort of work in the ag water quality sector, as well as list sort of 12 different tasks that they're more than skilled at in completing. So anything from outreach and education to project planning and design, providing funding. So like I said, yeah, I recommend printing this out and sticking it somewhere you can see, because it's a great resource to kind of visit back to when you have those pretty simple questions about who's doing what in the partnership. And then you dive into learning about the partners, and each partner's sort of page is set up similarly. So we have a simple sort of like, who are they? What do they do? And I will say that I think for some of our partners, this is probably only scratches the surface of what they do. There's a whole world sort of within each organization that lives outside maybe what's covered here in the partnership. So we really tried to focus our descriptions on how we relate to the Ag Water Quality Partnership. So just kind of keep that in mind as you go through. So it's, again, a little overview, missions, purposes, sort of key programs, or how our work relates to the partnership, interspersed with videos. And I'm going to come back and revisit this part in just a second, the gold part. Some kind of key programs from each organization of what connects us to the partnership, sort of how we operate within it. Nice pictures that Amy provided. And this is where sort of what we do. This goes into a little bit more detail about what lives outside of ag water quality. So a lot of our pages have little drop-down menus that gives you a bit more information with links to where a lot of these live on the organization's websites. And then each one has a success story. So an example of collaboration within the partnership that led to something great for a farmer in the agriculture community, or wetlands restoration. There's sort of a good mix of types of projects. And sort of I'll click to my page since I'm pretty familiar with it. So one of the things that we wanted everyone to have access to was kind of the slew of newsletters and listservs, which come out, monthly, daily, every other week, which give us a lot of great information about funding opportunities, programs, staffing updates. So we encourage you to kind of take a stop at this section, look to see contact pages, if there's newsletters that you can sign up for, social media accounts. Each page has this, and it's just a great way to stay connected. And of course, there's always the just partnership newsletter, which we all give information to Ali every month to include. So that's a kind of a great aggregation of all our information. And so we wanted to bring this sort of beyond just reading and watching videos. And we came with the idea of what we call the jump in component. So to bring this sort of to the next level, we wanted to kind of create a more interactive component to this orientation that goes beyond the computer screen. So for example, for the natural resource conservation districts, we encourage any new staff or old staff to look at a map, who is your local conservation district, reach out to a staff member within that conservation district, set up a quick chat, and just sort of get to know each other. These are one of the great things about this partnership is sort of that network that you create, and having this network to sort of ask questions to, brainstorm with. And there's a lot of us out there. And so by just kind of building those connections, we found that like having a friend within this community is really valuable. And so some of these sort of interactive components definitely encourage that. And I think for like Champlain Basin program, their sort of interactive component is to visit the Eco Leahy Center in Burlington. If you haven't done it, it's great. So I know that may not be accessible to everyone, but it just sort of gets you out from behind the computer screen and encourages you to do something a little different and then share those experiences with your colleagues. So once you go through each of the partners and learn a little bit about them, you will end on our final unit 4, collaboration for conservation. And so you'll see that some of this is what Nina reviewed earlier, the challenges that exist within the partnership. Hopefully this orientation helps address some of those, the benefits, which definitely outweigh the challenges in my opinions. I really like this one of friendship and coordination because I found that has been one of my key takeaways from sort of being a part of this. Again, this is Nina went over this, and then I think Allie, you're going to go into the survey a little bit, but this is sort of a way to end the orientation and provide your feedback. But before I hand it back to Allie to review sort of what comes next after you go through all this, I'm going to play a video that Nina helped put together. We all sort of that core project team who worked on this, each recorded themselves. I'm going to get a little shy because it's hard to hear my own voice, but I'm going to play it for all of you. Can everyone hear?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Allie Lewis, coordinator for the Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnership. Welcome aboard. We're really excited to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to complete this orientation. We're really excited to introduce you to some of the faces of the partnership.
Hey there, greetings from Vermont State House. I'm Molly Varner. I'm the communications coordinator for VACD and the project manager for Grand Isle County Conservation District. In early 2020, I was new both to the state of Vermont and this career, and I know for me, it was a struggle to navigate all the amazing resources and information that exists via our partners to support our agricultural communities and improve water quality across the state. Can definitely feel overwhelming. What program is the best fit for a farmer? Who should I reach out to? Is this the best available resource? And being part of the partnership has made it a lot easier to answer those questions and the many others that we ask ourselves each day. The partnership is a statewide wealth of knowledge and resources, and it's filtered through this amazing network who all have this shared goal. For conservation districts, it allows us to excel in identifying programs that may be of interest to farmers based on regional and local concerns and the specific needs of the farmer. And while the focus is agricultural water quality, there are so many roles under that umbrella: communications, research, and training, all of which is incredibly valuable to the work that I do and the work I think that we all do. So we're excited to have you be part of this community. Welcome and good luck.
Welcome to all of you new to the Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnership. My name is Chris Smith, and I work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I was asked to share some advice for new employees who would be working on water quality projects. My advice to you is to work as hard at your relationships as you do with putting conservation on the ground. Partnership and collaboration are the key to water quality improvement and other habitat conservation projects. Building strong relationships with landowners and other stakeholders is a great multiplier in the delivery of voluntary conservation projects. Good luck to all of you.
The Vermont Agricultural Water Quality Partnership is truly a unique entity because it provides such a great networking system of professionals, communicators, and people that are truly passionate about soil and water quality and about conservation. And I think that coming to Vermont as a new NRCS employee, it was a great opportunity to be able to network and learn a lot more about Vermont and connect with people that are so passionate about what they do. And I think that's what makes the partnership really unique and a wonderful support system for all the employees of the entities that are involved.
Giving farmers options is important. We want to support them in the best way we can to meet conservation and water quality goals. Sometimes you're not going to be the expert, so getting in touch with the people who are is the best path forward. Other times you're going to find yourself in tough situations, and the partnership community is going to serve you as a resource and a support system. I think that we all become better service providers when we know about the spectrum of services available and the various ways to approach a project.
Thank you for taking the time to complete this training. We're so excited to have you on the team. Go forth, do good work. We're looking forward to meeting you and working with you in the future.
Thanks, Molly. Do you want to just keep sharing your screen and I can talk about, since we're in module 4 right now? Okay, cool. And I see great comments about the video. Thank you all. Thank you everybody that contributed to that. It's really exciting to have that available. And we also have a video on our, let me type it into the chat, on our website, vtagcleanwater.org. That's about the partnership broadly, and you hear a lot more voices from folks in the partnership, and that's a great resource when you're interacting with partners who may be outside of the 9 entities in the Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnership, or members of the public, or anybody who's interested in hearing about the Vermont Ag Water Quality Partnership or what our partners are doing. That's a great resource, and there's a nice video on there as well. So Molly, if you just want to scroll further down. Perfect. Yeah, so at the bottom of the 4th module, you've kind of reached the point where you can branch off and continue your education, your relationship building. And it's really important that you complete this survey. So if you click, Molly, if you don't mind clicking complete orientation program, it's going to take you through a survey that's going to ask you some basic questions like which entity are you with, that sort of thing. It's going to ask you, how did this program serve you? That helps us. And then at the bottom, there's also going to be an opportunity for you to say if you have interest in pairing up with somebody in this kind of mentorship pilot program that we've created, which as you've heard multiple times throughout this, and as I'm sure all of you know, our relationships with each other in the work that we're doing are so important. And especially in this time where we're working remotely, we're not going to each other's offices all the time. For new staff, I'm sure it can be really challenging to have to navigate making all those new relationships remotely. And so we thought it would be a great opportunity for folks who are new to be able to say, hey, these are my interests. This is what I'd love to learn more about, anything like that. And they can put that into this survey and let me know. And I'll get an email basically that will say this person completed this program. They have interest in in these areas, and I can work within the partnership with reaching out to a few folks who might be a good match and getting new staff connected with somebody either in or outside of their organization just to connect with. And this is really building above and beyond on the components that are already embedded into this program. So for each partner entity, when you're learning about them, there's going to be that jump in piece. So hopefully folks along the way are creating relationships with these partners. And then this is an optional opportunity for new staff to continue that. So thank you. I don't know, Nina and Molly, if you had anything else you wanted to say about the program.
I don't know if it was mentioned. I think we estimated that it may take start to finish, especially if we do all the interactive components, maybe 10 to 15 hours to complete. But there's space in the survey for you to record how long it took. That will give us sort of a better idea of what to tell new employees as they start this journey.
I'm just going to throw the link to the orientation program in the chat. I think it's good to know that you can't Google this. The only way you can access it is via the link. So you can either check back Allie's last newsletter or reach out to someone in the partnership steering committee to get a link to the orientation program and a little bit of an introductory email about the program. But we really do appreciate if you guys take this program and review some of the content to give us feedback, because we've estimated the amount of time. So if it's really off, we'd like to change it. But I think at this point we can open it up for any questions, comments, shared experiences people wanna offer up, other advice maybe that you've learned in your past career or professional experiences.
Maybe I'll stop recording for the discussion.
Thanks, we appreciate that.